So, hello students! Welcome back to Mathematics video lesson with yours truly, Ma'am Lorena S. Maglonso. So, for today, we're going to discuss Quarter 3, Module 6, which is proving two triangles are congruent. So, at the end of this module or at the end of this lesson, you are expected to state the different triangle congruence postulates and theorems, differentiate triangle congruence postulates and theorems, and use triangle congruence postulates and theorems to prove two congruent triangles. But before that, let's have a review of what we have discussed last time. So, last time we discussed included angle, which means it lies between two named sides of a triangle. We also discussed the included side, which lies between two named angles of the triangle. Okay, let's have a recap. So, I have here triangle TRI. So, what is the included angle of side TR and side TI? Very good if your answer is angle T. How about the included angle of side RI and side RT? Very good, that is angle R. And for the included angle of side IR and side IT, that is angle I. Very good. So, paano nyo nakuha yung mga included angle? So, kung ano yung magkamukhang vertex, that is the included angle. Now, for the side, included side, what is the included side of angle R and angle T? Very good if your answer is side RT. How about for the included side of angle I and angle R? Very good. That is side IR. And for the included side of angle I and angle T, that is side IT. Very good. So, dito naman, sa included side, ang ginagawa natin is we get the vertex of the two angles, tapos nalagyan natin ng bar sa itaas. We also discussed the triangle congruence postulates. So, ito yung mga natatandaan ba kung ano yung mga triangle congruence postulates? Ito yung may tatlong S, yung may angle. Okay, that is SSS or the side-side. We have also the SAS or the side angle side and ASA or angle side angle. Then, the last one, yung ating huling diniscuss, is solving congruent parts of congruent triangles. So, kung hindi nyo pa napapanood yung video kung paano mag-solve ng congruent parts ng congruent triangles, you can watch the previous video. That is Quarter 3, Module 5. Now, let's proceed to proving two triangles are congruent. So, we have SSS or the side-side congruence postulate, which states that if the three sides of one triangle are congruent to the three sides of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, ito yung ating example or illustration ng SSS postulate. And ito yung ating mga sides na congruent na nagpapatunay na yung dalawang triangles natin ay congruent. So, we have if AB is congruent to DE, and BC is congruent to EF, and AC is congruent to DF, then triangle ABC is also congruent to triangle DEF. So, that is by SSS postulate. Now, let's have an example. Given square mat and its diagonal MT, we're going to prove triangle MHT is congruent to triangle MAT. So, ito na yung proof natin. May given na tayong statement. So, we're going to give the reason. So, for statement number 1 is square MATH and segment MT is diagonal. That is from the given. Then, HM is congruent to AT, congruent to HT, and congruent to AM. So, ito yung mga sides congruent sa isa't isa. That is from the definition of square. So, diba kasi yung square natin, lahat ng sides niyan ay congruent. Then, MT is congruent to MT. Ito yan. So, that is by reflexive property. And from that, statement number 4, triangle MHT is congruent to triangle MAT, we can say that is from SSS postulate. Kasi puro side yung pinakita natin na statement. Next is we have the SAS, or the side angle side congruence postulate. It states there that if the two sides and an included angle of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two sides and the included angle of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, ito yung ating example ng illustration ng nagpapakita ng SAS postulate. And ito yung ating mga congruent parts. So, if AM is equal to BO, is congruent to BO, angle A is congruent to angle O, and side AN is congruent to side OY, then triangle MAN is congruent to triangle BOY. So, kung makikita nyo, ang nasa gitna ay angle. So, side, angle, side. Now, let's prove example number 2. Given triangle VLO is congruent to triangle BSE. V is the midpoint of side LS and side EO. Prove that triangle VLO is congruent to triangle VSE. So again, we have here the 5 statements. We're going to give the reason. So for number 1 statement, V is the midpoint of LS and EO. That is from the given. Next is LV is congruent to SB and EV is congruent to OV. So then, yung LV daw ay congruent sa SV. And then yung EV ay congruent sa OV. And that is from the definition of midpoint. Next is triangle angle EVS and angle OVL are vertical angles. So from the word vertical angles, that is from the definition of vertical angles. And then angle EVS is congruent to angle OVL. So define lang natin yung N, that is vertical angles are congruent. And from there, triangle VLO is congruent to triangle VSE. We have the SAS postulate. Next is the ASA, or the angle side angle congruence postulate. It states there that if the two angles and an included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding two angles and the included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So this is the illustration or example na angle side angle postulate. And ito yung mga parts na congruent. Angle C is congruent to angle D. Side AC is congruent to side DO. And angle A is congruent to angle O. So, ayan. We have here angle, side, and angle. Then, triangle CAT is congruent to triangle DOG. Example 3. Given triangle PRA and triangle PYA, angle RPA is congruent to angle YPA and angle PAR is congruent to angle PAY. Prove the triangle PRA is congruent to triangle PYA. So, for number 1 statement, that is from the given. Number 2, we have AP is congruent to AP. Very good, that is reflexive property. Then, PAR is congruent to PAY. That is from the given. And then, from there, we can say the triangle PRA is congruent to triangle PYA by ASA postulate. Next is the AAS, or the SAA, or the angle side congruence theorem. So, yung tatlo, that is the postulate ng triangle congruence. So, na-discuss yun dun sa module 3. So, illustrating the triangle congruence triangle. So, kung hindi nyo pa napanood yung video na yun, pwede nyo siyang balikan. And then, this one, theorem, ito yung bago dito. So, if the two angles and a non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding parts of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, ito yung illustration naman yan. So, dalawang angle na magkasunod, tapos side. Non-included siya, okay? So, ito yung congruent parts. Angle A is congruent to angle X. Angle B is congruent to angle Y. Then, BC is congruent to YZ. So, therefore, we can say the triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. So, ito yung proving. So, we have here given angle A is congruent to angle X. Angle C is congruent to angle Z. Side AB is congruent to side XY. So, prove the triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. So, for statement number 1, so, it is from the given. angle B and angle Y, that is from where third angles are congruent. Kasi congruent na yung dalawang angle natin. So, obviously, yung pangatlong angles congruent na din. Then, from there, we have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. So, that is by ASA. Kasi kung ito ay congruent, tapos itong side na to, congruent, itong side na to, itong angle na to, congruent, so ASA. And then, from there, for statement number 4, if angle A is congruent to angle X, angle C is congruent to angle Z, side AB is congruent to XY, then triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ. And that is from the law of deduction. And so those are the triangle congruence. Now we have to proceed to the right triangle congruence. But before that, let's know or alamin muna natin what is right triangle. When we say right triangle, this is a triangle in which one of its angles is a right angle. So ito yung example ng isang right triangle. So masasabi mo na right triangle siya kapag meron tayong right angle. And ito yung right angle na sinasabi dyan. This one. So, ang symbol na makikita nyo sa angle ay pa-box. Ibig sabihin nun, right angle, 90 degree ang sukat. Then, the side of a right triangle opposite the right angle is called the hypotenuse. So, kung ito yung right angle mo, yung nasa kabila niyan, yung opposite side niya, ang tawag doon is hypotenuse, which is the longest side of a triangle. So, yun yung pinakamahabang side sa triangle. And then, the remaining two sides are called the legs. So, ngayon, yung bumubuo doon sa right angle natin, yung pa-L natin, ang tawag natin doon ay legs. Okay, now, we have 4 right triangle congruence. So, sa triangle congruence, meron tayong tatlong postulate sa isang theorem. Sa right triangle congruence, we have 4. We have the LL or the leg-leg congruence theorem, the LA or the leg acute congruence theorem, the HYA or the hypotenuse acute angle congruence theorem, and the HYL or the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem. So, let's discuss it one by one. So, for the leg-leg congruence theorem, it states there that if the legs of one right triangle are congruent to the legs of another right triangles, then the triangles are congruent. So, the LL congruence theorem was deduced from SAS congruence postulate. So, ibig sabihin, para lang din tong SAS congruence postulate. Ang pinagkaiba kasi, ito, right triangle tayo. Sa right triangle lang to. So, dito, sa halip na side, leg. So, we have leg, tapos angle natin na right angle, tapos leg. So, let's write here the congruent parts of these two triangles. Tapos, para bigay natin kung ano yung dalawang, or kung ano yung congruent triangle. So, we have here side CA is congruent to side. So, kung nagsimula ka sa C, dun sa may right angle, sa vertex, so dapat dito ka din magsisimula. So, F. So, papunta dun sa A, dumaan ka dun sa may dalawang markings. So, dapat papunta ka din dun. So, FD. And then, yung angle natin, angle C, congruent syempre sa angle F kasi parehas silang right angle. And then, yung CB natin na side, congruent sa CB, congruent sa FE. So, from there, we can say the triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. So, again, huwag kakalimutan yung corresponding vertices natin, ha? Next is we have the leg acute congruence theorem. Here, it is stated that if a leg and an acute angle of one right triangle are congruent to a leg and an acute angle of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, the triangles can be guaranteed congruent by ASA postulate. So, ito naman, ang parang pinanggalingan nito is ASA postulate. So, we have here angle, then the side, and then the angle. So, dito naman, ano siya, leg, angle, leg, angle. Yung angle natin is acute. So, dun sa may acute angle. So, lista natin yung congruent parts natin. So, angle O is congruent to angle X. Kasi ito yung ating right angle. Then, yung side natin, we have side OW is congruent to side XI. Kasi doon ka nagsimula sa may right angle, dapat doon ka rin magsisimula ng vertex. And we have angle W is congruent to angle I. So, from that, we can say that triangle TWO is congruent to triangle SIX. And that is leg acute congruence theorem. Next is the hypotenuse acute angle congruence theorem. So, dito naman, if the hypotenuse and an acute angle of one right triangle are congruent to the corresponding hypotenuse and an acute angle of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So, for two right triangles, the Saa congruence theorem becomes the HYA congruence. So, ito naman, nanggaling siya, or ang magpuprove dito is yung Saa congruence theorem. So, kasi we have here angle, angle, and then side. So, dito naman, hypotenuse, ito yung pinakamahabang side. Then, acute angle, tapos saka pa lang yung right angle natin. So, let's list the congruent parts. So, una, we have angle R is congruent to angle A. And then, yung acute angle natin, angle I, is congruent to angle Y. And then, yung hypotenuse natin, FI is congruent to side DY. From there, we can conclude that triangle FRA is congruent to triangle DAY. And that is hypotenuse acute angle congruence theorem. And the last one is the hypotenuse leg congruence theorem. So here, if the hypotenuse and a leg of one right triangle are congruent to the corresponding hypotenuse and a leg of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So dito, let's list. So we have the hypotenuse, tapos leg, tapos yung ating right angle. So for the hypotenuse, we have MY is congruent to JN. Then yung side natin or yung leg, so we have leg or side AY is congruent to side UN. And then yung angle natin na angle A ay congruent sa angle U. So we can say that triangle MAY is congruent to triangle JU. And that is hypotenuse leg congruence theorem. Now, let's have examples. For each problem, give the correct naming order of the congruent triangles. Also, indicate which postulate or theorem is being used. So, dito muna tayo sa may, ang choices natin dito is SSS, SAS, ASA, and then yung SAA, or yung AAS. So, for number 1, so, we have triangle ABC. So, isusulat natin yung kakongruent na triangle ABC. So, ang kakongruent ng triangle ABC ay triangle, kung nagsimula dun sa may walang markings A, so, dito yan. So, W. So, ano ang kasunod niya? So, ang kasunod ay B. So, papunta doon. Ang katapat ng A dito ay yung may dalawang markings. So, dito ang katapat ng W, yung may isang marking. So, that is not W. So, saan ka magsisimula? You're going to start at R. So, si A papunta kay B. So, si R papunta kay W. And then, si C, yung may markings, that is I. So, check natin yung markings. Anong kayang postulate or theorem? We have here side, angle, and then side. So, that is by SAS postulate. Next, for number 2. So, A, B, C, nagsimula dun sa may isang markings ng angle. So, dito tayo magsisimula sa may isa, E. Then, papunta sa walang marking. So, E papunta sa S. And then, syempre, yung C natin, ayun, H. So, we have there angle, side, or SAA. So, meron tayong isang non-included side. For number 3, ay, ito yung pinakamadali kasi kita naman yung markings natin. SSS yan, kagad. So, ano lang yung check natin, yung arrangement ng letters natin. So, A, B, C. So, A, nagsimula tayo dito sa T, papunta sa B, na may 3 markings. So, magsisimula tayo sa G. So, G, A, B, G, N, T. So, A, B, C. So, G, N, T. Next is for number 4. So, G, H, J. G, H, J. So, yung H natin, meron tong dalawang marking. So, that is R. And then, yung J natin, yung isang marking. So, E. So, yung G natin, nakapartner niya ay A. So, that is angle, side, angle. So, that is by as a postulate. Next, so ito ay side, angle, angle. So, we have here sa A. So, ang A natin, walang marking. So, D. Ang ating B, yung may dalawa. So, that is S. And then, yung C natin, yung isa, T. And for number 6, triangle ABC. So, yung A nagsimula sa may isang markings. So, H. Then, yung B natin, ito, we have E. And then, yung ating C, Y. By side, angle, side, that is SAS. So, yan. Ganyan yung ating example. Next is state the additional information needed to prove that each pair of triangles are congruent by the given theorem or postulate. So, dito naman tayo. So, yung HA dito, ito din yung HYA. Tapos yung HL, that is also HYL. So, gagawin lang natin, papakita natin kung paano yung HL. So, yung HL natin, that is hypotenuse at saka leg. So, ito yung markings natin dyan. So, we can say that side EG is congruent to the side FG. Then, side ED is congruent to side FD. And then, yung angle D natin, congruent sa angle D. For HYA naman, so, given na ito na yung ating angle. So, hypotenuse tayo. Ito yung hypotenuse natin. So, we have there side AB is congruent to side DB. Then, yung dalawang angle natin, angle B is congruent to angle B. And angle F is congruent to angle C. For the leg naman, so ito na isang leg natin. So, ito isa. Ayan. So, we have side NP is congruent to side VX. And then, yung angle P natin, congruent sa angle X. And then, side PQ, congruent sa side XW. Next is for the LA. So, we have leg acute. So, dito, leg. So, ito yung leg natin. And then, the acute. Yan. So, leg acute angle. So, we have there angle M is congruent to angle K. Then, angle L is congruent to angle L. And then, the side ML is congruent to side KL. For HA, ito na yung sa HA natin. So, we have hypotenuse and acute angle. So, okay na yan. We're going to just write the congruent parts. So angle S is congruent to angle Y. And then angle T is congruent to angle X. And then yung side VT ay congruent sa side ZX. And for the last, number 6, we have LA. So, leg acute. Okay, leg acute. So, ito yun. Yan. So, this one, medyo parang mali ito kasi hypotenuse yung ating may given, may side. So, maybe this is HA. Yan. So, we have here side CA is congruent to side FA. And then we have angle B is congruent to angle D. And then for the other acute angle, so angle C is congruent to angle F. So dito dapat yan. Yan. So that's for the right triangle congruence. So now let's sum it up. So proving two triangles are congruent. So we have the SSS postulate, the SAS postulate, the ASA postulate, and the SAA theorem. Then we discuss the right triangle congruence, which are the LLL theorem, LA theorem, the HYA theorem, and the HYL theorem. And that's it. Thank you for watching. So if you understand the lesson clearly, you can subscribe and click the like button. Thank you again. See you next video lesson.